And Town Board, we are live.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the December 12th work session of the East Hampton Town Board. Carol, would you please read the roll call?
It's not Carol, it's Cheryl.
Oh, Cheryl.
Councilmember Birkenstock.
Present.
Councilmember Lees.
Present.
Councilmember Overby.
Here.
Councilmember Rogers.
Present.
Supervisor Van Scoyac.
Present. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This morning, we have a public portion where any member of the public may address the board on any topic. We ask that you please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. That will be followed by bids presented by Jeannie Carrozza, our purchasing director. We have the 2024 purchasing policy update as well with Jeannie. There's a discussion of amending Chapter 95, bicycles, skates, and surreys with Rob Connolly, our town attorney. And lastly, the Second House and Industrial Road roundabout. Councilmember Lees, and I think we have Jim Peterman here as well. That'll be followed by liaison reports, and we do have a few resolutions to approve today. So is there anyone who wishes to address the board? Mr. Grimes, did you want to address the board?
Sure. I'll try and stick it hard to the 3 minutes.
I appreciate that very much.
Hi. Jim Grimes. I own two adjacent properties to the proposed roundabout down there at the corner of Second House and Edgemere. I just want to make the comment that, myself and my neighbors have concerns about anything the town does down there. I'm sure the board is very aware of the drainage issues that have occurred down there and basically have been increasing over the years. Okay, the increases have been several-fold. One, rise of Fort Pond, rise of groundwater, the development of the battery facility, the development of the PSEG substation, and the other work that's going on there. Going all the way back to Bill Wilkinson's administration, there was some very, very severe flooding down there, which at the time, your board adopted a policy of allowing the property owners, when they rebuilt or redeveloped bits of the property there, to bring up ground floors a couple of feet to mitigate some of those rising water levels. Concern we have is, one, we want to make sure that this is a plan that the math adds up, that will actually be functional both as a drainage project and as a traffic flow project. Over the years, there's been several car accidents in that area. It is kind of an awkward situation. My shop is right on the corner, but there's also been a lot of things that have occurred down there through the construction of the PSE project, the battery project. I think before anything happens in terms of putting a shovel in the ground, I understand you do have permits all squared away on this, is to make sure, one, that the PSEG plant is actually online, running and been tested. Same with the battery facility. I know when they energized that plant 2 years ago, they burned off all of their main feeds on it. I don't know whether it was inadequate sizing or whatever, but I think before we start buttoning things up, it's going to be important to basically make sure the infrastructure is all sound there. And then in terms of the timing on a project like this, is if it's possible, and I hope it is, to wait and do these things in the off season, because the PSEG plant cost myself, cost Mickey Valsich, cost Peter Joyce, literally cost us thousands of dollars in lost time and inconvenience down there. I really would not hope that we have a replay of that. And that's it. I'm looking forward to David, if maybe we can get together with the engineer, yourself, I can organize the players that we can get together and work towards and, a good end result here.
Great,
Thanks.
Jim, I appreciate those comments, and of course, we'd love to work cooperatively with anyone in that area. And as you said, our interest there is really to improve the safety of that intersection as well as deal with the flooding issues. As you are well aware, we've had a number of instances where maybe 2 feet or more water in that roadway.
Yeah, and in the middle of the winter,
The ice freezing, those,
Yes.
really bad. So thank you for that offer, and we look forward to working with you. Anyone else wish to address the board at this time? Do we have any callers on the line?
We have Hudson today. We do have 2 callers on the line. First up is caller 8764. You are on the line. Caller 8764.
Hudson, could you try the next caller, please?
All right. All right. Caller 6412. Caller 6412, you're on the line.
Seems as though we may have a technical issue reaching the callers since neither are responsive.
Yeah, let me try and figure that out.
In the meantime, I'll jump back to you shortly. Hudson, I'd like to keep the meeting moving along, and if we could go on to our next topic, which is bids with Jeannie Carrozza. Good morning, Jeannie.
It's hard to see them, right? I can't always see the phone. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. I have a couple of bids and then my update to the purchasing policy for 2024. First is a rejection of the audit services for the Community Preservation Fund and Community Housing Fund. There was some misinformation from the proposer in their proposal, so we reached out to them, and what we're going to do is reject it, renotice it, and have it send out again, and hopefully we'll get a successful proposal. And then another award for printing of miscellaneous forms, and the apparent low bidders for that are Montauk Printing and Concept Print. And that's all I have as far as bids and RFPs. And next would be the update to the purchasing policy for 2024. I'd like to add a section for a green purchasing community. Before I change all the wording for the new purchasing policy, I just have to get it approved by you verbally. And then once I get it approved at the organizational meeting, I send in the application to the state and they'll approve it. One of the criteria is we have to be certified. I believe we're a bronze member of energy sustainability. So we do have that qualification. There are a few other things that I have to add to it, but that would mean that we would be committed to following Green New York specifications. And it just basically says that we'll do our best to follow Green New York procurement specification to a maximum extent practical and where cost is reasonably competitive as defined by General Municipal Law 104A. And sometimes when you're going things that are used for green purposes like, recycled paper and things of that sort, it's a little bit more expensive, but obviously we use our best intentions to make sure it's good for us. And sometimes green purchasing in the beginning is higher, but the long-term effects are very beneficial to the environment and energy costs, et cetera. So that's what I'm going to be adding to our policy. And during the course of the year, some other ideas going on the same concept would be like, for instance, I'm interested in doing like a shredding day for the community. And what we'd have a paper shredding company come in like on a Saturday, like we do for stop days. And it'd be like from 10 to 2, and they could bring in like a few boxes of their items to be recycled, shredded. And one of the statistics from that is for every ton of recycled paper produced from these recycled paper, 17 trees are saved. So that's just something I want to try to, do more of, and with our purchasing, and, hopefully it will make a difference in the long run.
Yeah. Given our climate declaration and policies around green energy, this is a logical next step for us to review our purchasing and where possible to be able to use products that are in greater alignment with that policy.
Mhm. And they do have a whole list from the state. And I was going to work with Diane Patrizio from the Human Services Department, and we use a lot of plasticware, plastic containers, and they have compostable stuff as well. So we can work on that as going forward.
Are there questions or
No.
comments from board members?
Great. Thank you for taking on this initiative, Jeannie.
No problem. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeannie. Hudson, do we have any callers on the line? Were you able to connect with anyone wishing to make public comment?
Currently, we're working on that right now. I've got Jason on the line also helping me solve that, but right now it is still not working properly.
Okay, for anyone who might be watching at home or at work or whatever who wishes to comment, we will come back to you later in the meeting as soon as that issue's been resolved. So if you can stay on the line, we will get back to you as soon as we can. I would like to, at this point, move forward with our next agenda topic, which is to amend Chapter 95 Bicycles, Skates, and Surreys. And Rob, I believe you're going to lead us through that discussion. This was something that came out of concerns, I think, primarily from the East Hampton Sag Harbor CAC regarding North Main Street and some safety issues there. And when we took a look at it, decided we needed to have some additional changes made to that legislation.
Right, that came out of the public hearing we had on November 16th, where folks asked us to look at e-skateboards.
Right.
Yes, so that's what I did. I amended the proposed town code to include a definition for e-skateboards, which I admit I never heard of before the last work session. So I came up with a definition for that and included it in the language to prohibit e-skateboards on sidewalks throughout the town as well as the e-bikes.
Do
And
you have a mic there? Great, thanks. Just,
Rob, could you just read the definition
Sure.
that you were adding to this?
so for e-skateboard, there's no real, the DMV doesn't define them. So I had to kind of cobble together a definition. It's an electric skateboard, is a personal transporter based on a skateboard. The speed is usually controlled by a wireless handheld throttle remote or rider body weight shifting between front of the board or forward motion and rear for braking.
I don't know what we're missing over there, but
That sounds like
sounds exciting. Whatever.
Forged in fire now.
action TV is going on.
Fire, the town hall edition.
Oh, back to us.
So boring.
Not quite as exciting. We don't have that same soundtrack.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions regarding that change?
No, and I think what we'll do is we'll notice this for public hearing on the 21st and hear it on January 4th.
Yeah, I think it's an appropriate addition to, if we're looking at all the e-bikes that are up and coming to add the skateboards, I thank Marcy Waterman for bringing that to our attention, and I think it's an appropriate addition. And thank you for taking a second look at the public hearing.
So just to take this one step further, because, I'm trying to encompass all potential problems, I wonder if we should also add electric unicycles, given that we've actually had some of those roll through town. I remember there was a group of unicyclists that came down from Boston and were on their way. They'd gone down to New York City and were on their way out Long Island, stopped here at Town Hall on a Sunday for a little rest and recuperation as they made their way towards the lighthouse on Talk Point. So I don't, maybe we should add unicycles as well.
Would this include a Segway? Are those still around? I think that's the name, right?
Yeah, that's a,
Segway, yeah.
that's the.
I think that would be encompassed in the electric scooter portion from the definition.
Okay.
Any other comments?
No, I'm thinking that we might be coming back to this a couple more times in the years ahead, unfortunately. But, you know,
The
it's
electric
gonna be
flying
ahead.
saucer hovercraft?
Yeah, the hovercraft. Right. Okay. Okay, we do have, I got a text from LTV that I think we will be able to take those comments from callers. So if we could go back to public comment.
All right, going back to public comment, and caller 8764, you are on the air.
Hello. Hello, hello, hello.
Good morning.
Not unmuted. Hello, hello.
Yeah, you are.
We hear you.
You do hear me?
Yes, please state your name for the record.
Okay. All right. There definitely are technical difficulties. This is David Buddha. I hope that you can hear me. Among the technical difficulties you're having today, there is a significant delay between the visual and the audio as I hear it on the telephone, almost a 2-minute discrepancy, which makes it very hard to communicate. All right. Assuming that you can hear me, I just want to make a brief comment. There seems to be a tendency lately that is really should be nipped in the bud of having resolutions, significant resolutions that make reference to documents that should be made available to the public, because without them, the resolution is meaningless. Specifically, I'm referring to Resolution 1566 to adopt benefits policy for department head and appointed employees. That resolution really says that you're adopting an attached benefit policy, so that therefore the public doesn't know what it says and can't see it. And if you have a document that states the essence of a resolution, I would strongly suggest that the Open Meetings Law requires you to incorporate that in the public agenda so that people know what it is that you're doing and don't have to then make a FOIL request to obtain a copy of something to understand what actions you're taking. Similarly, you have recently had a couple of resolutions that make budget transfers without listing them, but rather simply says, see the attached list, and of course no list is attached to the agenda. Hopefully you've heard me. I haven't heard any response from you during my comments, so I do hope that you heard what I had to say, and I appreciate that. And one more thing, you just had a discussion about proposed changes to some of the town code. I wonder whether or not you're going to maintain the prohibition against surreys. Perhaps it's time to bring them back. They certainly are eco-friendly. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Buda. We did hear you loud and clear, and thank you for your comments today. Hudson, do we have any other callers on the line?
We do have another caller on the line. Caller 6412. You are on the air.
Good morning, Town Board. It's Rona Klopman from Amagansett. Hopefully you can hear me.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we can.
Loud and clear.
Okay, great. All right, I'm calling with some questions about the senior center because I am the senior, but I don't use the center. However, I understand, that it's been going on for many, many years that this is in discussion. But my question is, how does the construction go from $3 to $8 million to over 31 million? And my other question is, I hope that the building is going to be 22,000 square feet, and I hope you are planning to keep it for seniors, because having a commercial kitchen that's going to cost $600,000, I do hope you're not planning to rent that out to private parties and commercial entities. So that's basically my question. Hopefully I can get some sort of answer about it. And also, at the end of this conversation, I'd like to wish Sylvia, good luck. Now it's the end of her term. And you, Peter, as well. We were hoping at ACAC to say goodbye to you last night, but we actually haven't seen you for 6 months at the ACAC meetings, so we couldn't really say it, but we wish you well.
Thank you, Rona.
Thank you, Rona. Appreciate it.
Do we have any other callers on the line, Hudson?
No other callers on the line.
Okay, we'll move back then to our agenda topics. The next topic is Second House Industrial Road Roundabout. Dave, you want to?
I do, yes. Thank you very much. I have Jim Peterman here from LK McLean Associates, engineer that's assisted with this project. This project, as one of the previous speakers mentioned, has been around for a while. Actually, Sylvia and I worked on this, and then she handed the baton off myself when I became the liaison to Montauk to try to move it forward. Impetus of this project is always public safety initially, with traffic flow in this area and this corridor. It's got multiple roads moving into it, but at the same time flooding. As we heard, there's been a lot of work being done most recently by some of the public utilities in that area, and this is a coordinated effort with those utilities for cost sharing and also for the design on there then too. The previous speaker is correct. There's multiple concerns here as far as water table, different type, I think there's 7 different water courses there, which will be discussed.
Did we lose the feed?
We seem to have lost the feed.
Oops.
No, this is Jim
You
Peterman.
just hold
Hold
on,
on,
Jim.
Jim,
We seem to have lost our
No, I can tell you why.
LTV.
Oh,
LTV, do you hear us?
We're still here.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I apologize about that. We discussed this at the July, I think July 12th, 2022 meeting. It's been discussed in the past. I wanted to make sure we brought this up as soon as possible again to raise any red flags that might be out there from the board, also from the community members, and too. Again, I have Jim Peterman here, and Jim, do you want to come up and start presenting some of the options for the town board to consider in design and where the project lies so far?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jim Peterman. I'm from Lewis K. McLean Associates, also known as LKMA. I'm going to be presenting some information from the computer there, so that's why that screen is set up like that. So just start right now. Okay. All right. So this project actually started as I was notified by Steve Lynch of a tremendous drainage issue that occurred here at this
Can you
intersection.
bring your microphone closer to you, Jim? Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Okay. So this is our the sheet that you see in front of you is the plan set for the preliminary plan set we have. I'm just going to the sheet that shows the existing conditions. You see right here, this is the new PSE&G substation and the battery terminal. Apparently, before they were built, they used to be a low-lying area where a lot of the stormwater had, sat after, rain events. When these things were actually built, they were raised to certain elevations to keep them above, I guess, some storm elevations, especially for the transformers. Go to some photos. You could see this, and this is one of the driveways to the PSE&G. You could see it was raised substantially 4 to 5 feet. That took away any of the possible area that the stormwater used to sit. you can see that this facility is much higher. Down in this area, the roadway is very flat.
And this is looking from the train tracks.
This is looking, well, it's not quite at the train tracks. It's at the northerly end of the PSE&G station. Mr. Grimes' yard is over here. He mentioned before this, he mentioned some history here.
And Jim Hudson, can I just confirm that this is being screen shared on LTV also?
Yes, this is all being produced.
Thank you very much. Please proceed, Jim.
Okay. Going to, there was a lot of challenges involved with this job. The roadway is at a very low elevation, very flat. And in order to try to get some drainage in here was also very difficult as far as the availability of any kind of space to actually put anything. This is a plan view of the intersection, and basically what you see in color are all the underground utilities, okay? Railroad tracks being up here to the east, okay? And these red lines here, these 4 huge underground electric feeders coming from the substation that have so much juice in them, they have to be 6 feet apart. So we tried to fish in some drainage to the east of this, going up to the railroad tracks. There was just physically no way to do it because we have to get the pipes over these utilities. In my 40 years of experience, I never had an intersection with the amount of underground facilities that they have out here. So that was another challenge. The watershed, let's get back to this plan. Watershed plan. Sheet. What sheet?
So that whole area to the south and west, that grade goes up considerably over time, and that's a major contributor to that area, is it not?
Well, right here, basically the intersection where I have the pointer right now is the low point from this whole outline of different parts of watersheds here.
Right.
So all stormwaters that fall into these areas will end up here, the stuff that doesn't permeate into the ground. Unfortunately, with this being the low point, but the roadway, I'll bring up a profile in a second. Page 6. So let me just, while I'm on this page, Mr. Grimes talked about the high grind water. We did a couple of test borings here. Groundwater is down 3 feet. So that also was a problem for us due to putting any kind of leaching basins in. They just wouldn't be able to store any kind of stormwater event because you have the casting, the top slab, and it basically makes a leaching basin become non-usable. This is plan set above, but more importantly below is the profile of the roadway. As you go east on Second House approaching the railroad to the left side of this sheet, when they put the railroad in, of course, they put that at a larger flood height also. So there's a big embankment that goes up to the railroad tracks. And this dotted line you see in the profile of the roadway is the existing asphalt surface at the center line of the road. As you get down closer to the intersection, you can see this dotted line is the existing surface. You can see how it's basically flat for about 500 feet here with a high point close to the intersection, which basically impounds stormwater here. The inability for us to, excuse me?
No. I don't know where that's coming from.
Okay.
LTV.
Basically, with all the underground utilities out here, we would like to, I'd put in more drainage structures up here, leaching basins, so sort, but the high groundwater and the amount of utilities under here had us do some unconventional things here. So when you're paving and you want to try to reduce bird baths and puddles, the minimum percentage in a longitudinal direction is about a 0.3%. That's about 4 inches in 100 feet. Anything less than that, you're going to have a bird bath city. So what we did is we projected, from the intersection back at a 0.3% and intercepted the slope in front of the railroad up here. Okay. So basically, from the beginning of the project, just south of or just west of the tracks, there'll be an asphalt roadway resurfacing with some good amount of fills in some locations to give it a constant pitch towards the traffic circle or the new traffic circle. Okay. We went through almost a year worth of environmental permits going back and forth with New York State DEC to, get permission or let them know what we need to do to actually take care of this drainage. So we actually put it in some bioswales. Let me get to that page, sheet 17 and 18. In front of the PSE&G station, we're trying to use every available piece of real estate we have out here. We're putting a small shallow swale in here to catch some of the stormwater off the pavement, and whatever doesn't settle in there will go overland flow down to the south. Looking at the intersection between North Shore and Midland, you'll notice there's a whole series of mailboxes there. Behind those mailboxes is actually man-made created wetland, freshwater wetland, that we had to go into. It's still on town property, to make this traffic circle work. When we actually take out wetlands and existing wetlands, New York State DEC makes you do a 3-to-1 ratio on a reestablishment of a wetland. So with us taking away this area of wetland, we had to put this in on the opposite corner, which is it's a bioswale, which water is piped into.
Because then I'm sticking up in the cameras.
Water piped into this area. It's like a very shallow area where any sediments will, drop and overflow back into a pipe network that will dump into another bioswale that was DEC permitted outside the guide rail next to the lake. Okay. Let's see if I can get that. This is, going back and forth between DEC. These are the plantings they wanted in there. All local native. They're designed to sit in a wet area and to promote wildlife propagation. The other side of the roadway, let me just get back to this plan. So the water that flows on the south side ends up going into this system. Water flowing on the north side of the roadway will end up going into these two basins and then through a pipe into the bioswale over here, which we're installing this trash outlet because it's not going through one of these bioswales. So it's actually a snout. It's an oil separator and a sediment control device that goes in this basin that prevents any of the contaminants making it out, into this swale, eventually getting into Fort Pond. And that was all DEC approved. Let me just go to Just a little bit about the traffic patterns here. This was designed for a WB50 tractor trailer, which is almost the biggest tractor trailer that you would have on the roadway, other than like a WB67. I just lost my feed here. There you go.
So Jim, that circle will have probably a mountable curb, is that right? And
Everything's mountable. I just lost my thumb drive on this screen, I'm sorry.
Do you need Ann back to help out?
Yeah, hopefully I'll find it. I got it. I just wanted to show you what the difference. This is designed for a WB50 tractor trailer, dimensions you see before you. A WB67 is normally an interstate trailer. You normally don't see them on a local road, or if you do, it's usually when everyone has to back up at a traffic signal for this vehicle to make it. So normally you don't see these WB67s, on local roadways.
Actually,
We
going to tell you you do, because I take in a lot of material that's coming off the West Coast, so we do get bigger trailers.
Okay, well, like I said, we've said before, we were gonna talk after this meeting. I just wanted to show you some of the templates that were run for this. So we ran every different scenario with the WB50. This is the tractor trailer actually negotiating this turning movement. It shows you the outer wheel tracks of the trailer and the tractor, and we ran those for every movement. What you see right here is that this line going across what's called the trailer apron on the traffic circle. This pavement will be a cobblestone, mortar jointed over a concrete slab to withstand the weight of a truck. That's mountable curb here, so it's designed for the tractor to stay on the road and the trailer to go over the truck pad. So we ran those for every different scenario from every different direction.
So Jim, what's the lane width here?
Let's go to sheet 19. Lane widths are approaching, they vary 13. We modified these based on the turning templates, but there's a 19-foot travel lane, around the circle itself.
And the reason I asked that, because typical travel lanes might be about 12 feet, sometimes 10, and with the 19, it will allow for a greater area for non-trucks if there was pedestrian or pedestrian or bike traffic that traverses that area regularly. So
Correct.
That was concern of the Montauk CAC, and I know we talked during the design to try to get as much of an asphalted area to make sure that there is enough space in there for pedestrians to traverse that area too. Thank you, Jim.
Correct, but it'll be a shared use, in the circle itself. There really is no pedestrian approaches as far as for either 5 lengths of the intersection. It's pretty tight right now to set up. If there was something going on in the future, I guess we could look at these, if there was a planned, pedestrian sidewalk on one of these roadways, this could be modified, but the lane width would have to decrease a little bit.
And on the North Shore Road approach, there's a gutter drain there. A gutter drain is to collect the water that would be coming down from Second House Road by the train tracks. That gutter drain then takes that water that's approaching the intersection, goes into the first swale, which then gets piped into the second swale, which then gets piped into a third swale. And that is the way that, because of all the topography in the water tables, the best try to make sure we get the water off the road and not allow it to go into any adjoining properties in that area.
Correct, yeah, we try to get the first flush. DEC, especially if you're outfalling into a water body, you need to take care of your first flush, which normally, has most of your contaminants in it, oils and sediments. That's what was going back and forth between, us and the DEC for a while. Right now, there's a galvanized guide rail along the edge of the lake. We're going to put something in there similar to what we did on Stephen Hand's Path. It's a federally approved steel-backed wood timber rail. It's good in the marine environment. It has I think the look that the town would like. As far as the permits, New York State DEC permit we have secured. The New York State Department of State has concurred with the project, and the Army Corps has reviewed and have no further requirements on it. So, do you have any questions?
Well, in a construction timeframe, like how long do you anticipate this project being?
3 to 4 months. As far as impact, we had chose to do overlays. Let me get back to that plan. There's not a lot of drainage on this project, just because of the the utilities, but the so everything from the circle up to the tracks, there'll be very little impact on the adjacent owners during construction, because that's just basically lifts of asphalt we're putting in there. And I'll go over that with Mr. Grimes after, what impacts PSE&G had on his business, so we could try to avoid them.
And with the overhead power lines, there is a pole that's currently there that will stay there?
There is a pole that is in the circle that's going to have to stay in the circle. I'll go back. There are 2 poles outside that are going to have to be outside the circle. There's a pole that is right on it's off the existing pavement, right where the little hand is on here. Has to be moved over to 2 feet beyond the pavement here. And there's another pole that's behind the mailboxes here. That's going to have to get shifted over to this location. We have had extensive meetings out in the field with PSE&G crew to actually make sure these were good with them as far as spans and guy poles and stuff like that. And they can't have any of the lines going over private property, like this line here. This is going back to a pole, up on Midland. So if we put the new pole here, this span, it can't go over private property. So that has all been worked out. And so PSE&G knows what's coming. They have no issues with it. We're going to have to, what I plan to do is have our survey crews go out there and survey these locations and put set some lath in there to let the PSE&G crew know exactly where to put the pole. So this utility work can be done before the construction starts. And as far as when the construction starts, I think that's up for debate right now. Are we going to wait till the fall or get it done, earlier than that? 90% of the traffic, of course, is on a second house to industrial both ways. So that's really going to be up for debate on when we want to get this done.
Thank you. And so I thank you very much. And Jim Grimes, I thank you very much for coming also. We received these set plans just this week. We put them on to the agenda at the last moment just to be able to get this out to the public and to the board members as soon as possible, as we have to see what the options are as far as construction and timing. Chief of Police has reviewed this. There's no issues on his end as far as the design. Steve Lynch also has reviewed them then too. There is, Mark Aberson has looked over some of the vegetation. There's one species of plants that he might want to change out. I'll let you know that comment also as we design.
Okay.
And it's pretty much, we wanted to get this out and out to the public and to the board members as soon as possible to see if there's any red flags, any changes that you want to know, or any just discussions. And then the next thing is to confirm the funding with PSE&G, and then to determine what timeframe that this potential construction would happen, spring to fall, what would be best. But we knew that we wanted to do this as soon as possible. I saw a little bit of a hole in the agenda here, and we thought we'd get it in. I appreciate Jim Peterman and Elkie McLean for coming in. And that's where we're at on this discussion point right now. The design on here with the wood guardrail, cobblestone, I think that aesthetically is pleasing to what we would like to see instead of metal guardrails or even stamped concrete in the area. Noted what Jim Peterman mentioned, is that there's a lot of buried stuff there, which makes it very difficult, and there's a lot of water going there. So, well, necessarily be perfect, no, but better than what's there is what we're hoping for public safety and for drainage. And that's what I have to the board members. I don't know if you have any questions of Jim or myself.
I would just ask to get all the sheets of the presentation today. I don't have them in my packet.
They were emailed yesterday, but I'll get them to
Okay,
you.
yeah,
Yes.
thanks. If I have them, then I'll have them. It's hard to read on this size. I need my giant magnifying
Understood.
glass as
They like
it
to
gets
give you
bigger as I get older. But I just would like to, I'm sure the drainage calculations that you're considering for the load capability of the bioswales have been considered for the heaviest rainfalls. And also, my other question would be, is this, what's the life of this as we see rising sea levels and more intense storms? Will this be able to accommodate even more than what's anticipated for this design?
Well, I don't really have a crystal ball as far as, how high the sea levels are going, but the whole intersection is getting raised like 8 inches, so.
So Jim, can you just maybe describe what rain event this is designed for? Is it like 2-inch or
It's
inch and a half?
Well, see, when you're designing a recharge basin, you design for there are 2 or 5 year, 2 or 5 inch rainstorm. In an area you have like this, there is nowhere to put the water to store it.
Mm-hmm.
So basically you're doing it like it's 1.25 inches first flush.
Mm-hmm.
You try to hold or treat. Again, that was going back and forth between New York State DEC in order to get something that would be, acceptable to them.
So I guess what I'm getting at is we should not expect this plan to alleviate all flooding events. I mean, what do we have, 7 inches of rain in a single event recently that was not even related to a tropical system. And I know that at the other end of the pond, in that wetland area that extends to the east, around the train station, Tut Hill Road, Flamingo Road, we had a perennial problem in front of Rough Riders with flooding there as well. We've redesigned and reconstructed that area. That helps significantly with regular rainfalls, but in a large event, it's not going to alleviate flooding for those periods of time.
Peter, what you're not gonna have after the, during a super intense event, will you have some ponding issues until it goes down? Most likely. However, soon after, it'll all get drained down. It's all designed and pitched. Right now, the way the road sits, it's designed like a bathtub. One has nowhere to go.
Right. I just want to, sort of frame the expectations of the public and understanding that, you can't alleviate flooding or ponding when you get, 7 inches of rain at a time. We saw that recently. And it does tend to clear itself up quickly when
Similar to
it's
the Rough Riders. I mean, they were at the same elevation 4.5. I mean, it's when you're down at these elevations, your options and your groundwater elevations dictate a lot of your infiltration, so
Right.
you're pretty limited.
And you'd be surprised how much the tide will affect that too. You know, if the rain comes at a high tide, the water will stay, but if it's low tide, the water has places to go. This is just a very constrained area.
It's a difference in head, different water heights.
So the other aspect of this is, it's really, I think, quite clear with this design. You see all those various roadways all intersecting at that location, and as was described earlier by a property owner adjacent, it's a confusing intersection. There have been a number of accidents there. So this will also aid with the improvement of traffic safety and a more orderly, entrance and exiting of that 5, armed intersection.
So from here, board members, review this. Jim Peterman, please meet with property owners. If any property owners want to contact my office, if they have any questions, I'm more than willing to discuss it. We want to get information out there so we can make the right decision on the design and the timing going forward. And we'll bring this up again in the next couple of weeks. But I wanted to get this out to everyone as soon as we sort of had it, and to make sure we had the professionals in here to explain it.
This is a pretty
question too.
Sure, go ahead, Susan.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. You had mentioned that there was a tube that takes out the oils and contaminants, and it's going to be in that sort of big arc.
It's actually installed, when I put it in here. It's a system, it's called a snout. There's a pipe that on the north side of the roadway. It's mounted inside a basin, but it prevents any of the oils from going in the pipe, and it has a sediment trap in it also. But it actually pulls up in a basket, so Steve Lynch's crews can actually pull out any floatables or contaminants or grit that, eventually might clog up the basin.
Right.
So it's accessible.
So my question is that, and I need probably a better explanation, and have it go over with our natural resources department, so that, we've been working on water quality issues, and this is certainly an affected water body for contaminants. And I think we need to be very conscious of what's happening here as we try to, we're trying to do a safety issue. And when I was the liaison to Montauk, it was a current, something that they said constantly, that this was a safety issue. So I know that safety is certainly a problem here, and we need to correct that. But I think we also need to consider and work with our natural resources department and our water quality.
We can share anything, that we have.
Yeah, no, that's great. They may have some suggestions that you hadn't thought of, or there might be filters that they use in other forms. So I would like to make sure it's run.
Well, I think New York State DEC is the one that recommended us to use what we're using. So hopefully.
Right now, there's no treatment for anything there.
Yeah.
There's no anything for anything.
It goes right into
It
the
just goes
pond.
right. So.
You have potentially three layers of treatment there, but we'll route that over. Of course, it's more.
But this is an opportunity.
Of course,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm hopeful that we
So,
can.
the other thing that, I think was mentioned earlier by a resident and property owner nearby is that it's important that we socialize this whole scheme with folks, so that they understand this is coming. This is what's being proposed. This is the design here, and to socialize that idea, because people may not be aware of the improvements, and people want to feel like they're involved in that process and not surprised by a project moving forward. So, I know you've probably brought this to the CAC before. I think having these most recent plans made available to both the CAC and all the area property owners, we appreciate the comments that we got earlier about issues in the area. So onward, upward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
If any questions,
Any other questions for Jim before we move on?
You like the wooden railings much better than any metal railings.
Yes.
More rural,
Very-
we can make it look.
Yeah, very pleased to see the state actually agreed to do those wood railings down at 114. If you don't ask, you won't receive. So that concludes our topics of discussion. We now have liaison reports. Kathy, do you have a liaison report?
I do. So first, I was going to start with activities at the senior center. Yesterday, the East Hampton Garden Club visited the center. They come every year. It's an annual event where they work with seniors to create a holiday centerpiece. It's always, very popular and during the holiday season, and we're grateful to the Garden Club for making this a priority. Also, Peter Honeycamp from the Talk House has been meeting with Diane Patrizio, and they are looking at ways to bring entertainment to the senior center. And next Monday, December 18th, Nancy Atlas and Indy Eaton are going to be performing a concert at 11 o'clock before lunch.
I think we qualify.
Yeah, I think it's there's a conflict. It's the ribbon cutting for the Boys and
Monday
Girls
at what
Harbor,
time?
11. So we're excited to have a new partner and with the Talk House, so we're grateful for that. I also just wanted to announce that the East Hampton Community Dinners are going to start again. It's brought to the community by the East Hampton Fire Department. They had traditionally done it at the firehouse, but there's an issue with the emergency services building in that room. So the East Hampton High School is opening their doors, and they're going to be having it's a series of 4 dinners, and the first one is this Wednesday, December 13th, and it goes from 5:30 to 7:30, and it's open to the community, free for all, and it's handicap accessible. The other thing I wanted to touch on.
Cafeteria, I suppose.
Yeah, yes. The other thing I wanted to touch on is I know we've talked a little bit about the microphones here in Town Hall. And
Sound better.
it sounds better, but we're not quite there yet. Jason Nauer has been working on this and coordinating with Michael Clark to enhance the in-room amplification. We need to install some new equipment and do an upgrade, and Jason is going to do it as a phased approach. He needs to do it when the room is empty. So he's coordinating that. And then lastly, I just wanted to touch upon last Tuesday at our work session when Samantha Klein came and did the presentation on the energy roadmap. I had made a comment that I had been reached out to by the New York League of Conservation Voters to see if we would consider upgrading our climate smart community from a bronze level to a silver level. Like I had mentioned, I think there's like 120 communities in the state that are bronze and only 10 that are silver. So, I appreciate Samantha got right back to me. And she said that we can definitely work to get East Hampton advanced from bronze to silver certified in 2024. After consulting with our NYSERDA rep on the program, the best first step is to update all of our previously submitted expired actions, then look at submitting newly completed action items and identifying additional projects needed to reach the right number of points. One of the first expired action that we would have to take would be appointing a community smart climate smart community coordinator. In the past, that had been Lauren Steinberg. Samantha has stepped up and has agreed to do that. So I would like to have a resolution on for the 21st appointing Sam, the coordinator, so that we can get this off.
Yeah, I know that Lauren was working on this before she moved. So, and trying to get us to silver. So I'm sure that her work is going to be, worthwhile for Sam to look at as well.
And I think another important step for us, we've had the full new energy roadmap presented to us, and then the recommendations presented to us. So I think another important step in that, and this was part of my liaison report, is to recommend that we go to public hearing and with the goal of adoption of the new energy roadmap. That will also be one of the criteria for attaining solar.
That would be great, and maybe we could do that the second meeting in January, have the public hearing. Rob. Take your hit, Rob.
We're laughing because Rob's always it.
And that's what I have for today. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
I did. Thank you very much. Last week, the Water Quality Technical Advisory Committee met. The committee is always reviewing ways to better the process and ways to better the process as far as the outreach to the application process. And ways we do that as an exit to every RFA that went through. You'll see some recommendations coming from that committee to the town board for their review upcoming. We also had a presentation from Joyce Novak from the Peconic Estuary Program. She presented their projects that they worked on in 2023 and what they have planned for 2024 to the committee. As the board is aware, there's a financial commitment that the town does every year. Nearly, I think this year is about $198,000, all the 5 towns do, to the water quality, and they were laying out their path forward for that funding and also other funding that they receive from other federal and state grants. I thank Joyce for coming. The Community Housing Advisory Board, CHAB, also met. That board is working diligently in discussions on the design of the grant application and the future potential grant application, and also the targeted application or the use of design of grading criteria on there. They're working through that. That was a great discussion on that. They're moving forward with that. Hopefully we'll get some more information at the first meeting this coming January. We also spent time discussing the budgeting and how the program is going to be budgeted for potential upcoming use, and how do we decide on how much might go into each grant cycle moving forward to what options might be there then too. So we're getting closer to moving that ahead to an open RFA. And fortunately, the funds are starting to come through right now, which is great to hear. Thank you, Peter, for moving that forward to the referendum. Last week, I jumped ahead a little bit of the New York State Parks press release because I was actually asked to, but I also wanted to. What I didn't recognize at that time, the New York State Parks announced a $1 million project. This is $1 million to prevent wildfire spread through Napeague and Hither Hills. I want to thank Senator Palumbo and Senator Assemblyman Thiel for working hard on this and listening to the town's concerns and the residents' concerns. This is a project going through New York State Parks. The contractor would begin mobilization last week, and this will be having large chippers, mulchers, and large equipment. Not everyone likes that, but it's going to be coming because what they're going to be doing is about 12,000 linear feet of a 25-foot fire break on houses that are contiguous to state park lands. All this vegetation removal will be on state park lands. They'll be happening on properties abutting Cranberry Hole Road, Dunes Lane, Bayview Ave, Marlin Drive, Shipwreck Drive, and Napeague Harbor Road. The project is being conducted in conjunction with a wider effort, the New York State Department of Transportation, New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, the New York State Office of Historical Preservation, to mitigate potential fire hazards associated with the dead and dying trees in the area. This park has approximately 671 acres of marine pitch pine duneland forest, and as we all know, it's been devastated by the southern pine beetles right now. They moved forward. The state listened to the town board advocated for funding of this and prevention, and it's also being coordinated and outreach to our local fire departments in that area then too.
Before you move on, David, I just want to make sure everybody's aware that you really led the charge on that, and it was your inspiration, motivation, boots on the ground that actually kind of kept the pressure up. I know you and I met with all those agencies, arranged through meeting by Assemblyman Thiel. So again, thanks to him as well, but you were instrumental in getting this done, so I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate that. It's a lot of hard work. We work together as a team, from here to, from town board, town staff, to our media partners also, to make sure that we kept getting this awareness out there. The residents worked hard. Unfortunately, it's an effect of climate change that we're seeing and what we need to protect ourselves for the long-term future. So I thank you for that, Peter.
So is the state doing any kind of outreach to the homeowners so that they know that when that equipment shows up? So contiguous to their backyard?
Yeah, I can't answer that.
Side yards?
It is a state park project. They do have a state park release. I would contact the state park office. The park operation manager here is Tom Dess in Montauk. But that is on their on their website.
I believe we also sent out a public notice about this, or it is planned to go out this week, one of the two. I'll have to check and
And
see.
maybe we could even just list the streets that the roads that you laid off.
Sure.
You laid out and put that on social media so that folks will see that and and then could click for more information.
That works for me. They could also contact www.parks.ny.gov or by calling 518-474-0456, but we will do links through our town websites also into coming to that project. And that's just the start. There's other work that's going to be done out there also, but this is the most impending one now too.
Yeah, actually Wednesday is the date scheduled for that social media post that I spoke about. Basically talks about those fire breaks, and there are links to the press release as well.
Thank you very much. Great. Yeah. Going with that about outreach to the community, I want to make sure everyone knows that the FIP planning is still moving forward. They are planning to mobilize still in late January. We are tracking down some communications with the Army Corps of Engineers about our sister project that we're linked up to on part of the FEME project. I have a planning, I'm having a meeting with myself and Kim Shaw Natural Resources and with the contractor Great Lakes Dredge and Dry Dock next week to hash out some more information, how it will affect the residents, how can we outreach and put that plan together for the community outreach in the weeks ahead then too. So same thing, trying to make sure we get that out there.
Would the Army Corps be willing to come into a work session and make a presentation on the project?
I will ask. And if not, then maybe the contractor might remotely. The contractor right now is fully mobilizing a pilot, so that's why it's next week. But I will ask to see, and if not, my role is to make sure that I get as much information out to the public as possible. And if they can't do it because of their schedule, I will make sure we can do that also potentially very early in the new year.
Great.
I just want to get the right information appropriately. Let's see here. Sanitation. The town board has discussed, and we're going to move forward and increase sanitation charges in 2024. We're looking to increase our primary and secondary permits $5 each, from $115 for the primary to $120, and from the secondary permit from $40 to $45. There's been a great increase in the cost for our recycling capacities and our charges, and we think the $5 increase, which hasn't been done in nearly a decade, is fair and appropriate. So that would be moving forward for calendar year 2024. The Long Lane roundabout right now, based on the timing of this, is looking to be a fall project right now. We don't want to move this forward to, it's a larger project than the one we just discussed, specifically because of the underground drainage, which actually will impede individuals' traffic through there. So it's being recommended that be a fall project. I look forward to bringing that, getting the rest of that design to the town board as we move ahead in the final designs there then too. But I want to let everyone know that that's still being worked forward. I met with John Rooney to discuss improvements to our recreational facilities, holistically looking at our locations from Montauk to Waynescott. And we will look to continue measured improvements at these facilities, additions through our capital budgeting in the weeks and months ahead and years. Lastly, I went to the Kendall Madison Foundation. I don't know if you knew who Kendall Madison was. I was fortunate enough to be just behind Kendall Madison. Unfortunately, he was, we lost Kendall, unfortunately, by the act of violence in 1995. He was a stellar athlete at East Hampton High School, stellar athlete at UConn also. Just a really, really nice gentleman, if you remember him. His mother is greatly involved with Project Most, Mrs. Bacon. She's a lovely lady too. But every year they have a scholarship fund, and they actually, where they raise money, do many different things. And this past weekend, they had the Kendall Madison basketball tournament at the high school, which East Hampton won. That's why I wanted to make sure everyone knew. So in the memory of a good friend of mine and friend of many of ours that grew up at that year, Kendall Madison, Bonnick did it well for you, Kendall. God bless. That's all I have.
Thank you, David. Go Bonnick.
Go on.
Sylvia?
I have fond memories of Ann running the middle school program. That would be, Sharon Ann, that would be open in the evenings, and my kids would go there and we'd drop them off. And my son Alec was one of the first recipients of the Kendall Madison.
No way, really? Oh, very good.
So fond memories.
Yeah.
East Hampton Arts Council met yesterday, and we had a robust discussion about the accomplishments and direction that the Arts Council would like to go in 2024. They have their creative networking nights, which they would like to continue, which supports all artists, including visual, musicians, writers, and theater and more. It provides a platform for informing the public of the creative talents that are in our community, as well as provide social interaction with the public. So the CNN nights have been at the library in East Hampton, and we thank them for providing that space. And then they've been going recently to Sam's Pizza to have that some more social interaction with the people that, you know, artists and the folks that show up. They would like to continue meeting at 5 o'clock on the second Monday. I don't know who their liaison is going to be yet, but I know Tom Flight's in the running, so, and he's here today, so and hopefully he's interested. We also discussed Brooks Park. There are several members of the committee, the East Hampton Council, Arts Council, that are on the committee for, and it's a not-for-profit for the Friends of Brooks Park. They continue to support the reconstruction renovation as an integral part of the history of abstract expressionism in East Hampton and how its worldwide impact. So it's not a small thing, it's a really big thing. As a reminder, it was the Arts Council that brought to the town board the significance of the Art Barge and the D'Amico Institute. And, you know, we were able to make that a historic designation. And so they continue to be very active, you know, in our arts community. And, you know, many young people, including Scott Bludorn, who helped design the village and our, you know, logos. So, you know, I went to high school with my kids, so it's really nice to see a lot of young people involved in the arts and moving the Arts Council forward. So that is all I have.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Peter. My Litter Action Committee, the town's Litter Action Committee met yesterday. First, I would like to thank Barbara DiLorenzo for her service to the town, the community, and the committee. She will be retiring from the committee, she thinks, but has agreed to help with special projects. So I thank her for all the time that she's put in. She created the logo, created the messaging, Don't Trash East Hampton, and was a big part of getting that committee off the ground. The committee will be formally extending an invitation to Councilman David Lease to attend our January 22nd meeting. That's at 3 p.m. in this room. We meet in person, and that's for coordinating work for the Adopt a Highway program. And I know David's done a lot of work on that, and they'd love to coordinate with you, David. But they will be sending you a formal invitation. We had also at that meeting, Vicki Firemark, who is a spring school teacher, and the spring school is interested in organizing, as part of a day of service for Martin Luther King Day, a cleanup involving students and their families. Details to be announced, but one of the possible cleanups would be Maidstone Park. and beach. So we make sure everyone is off the road and
Leases are signed.
leases will be signed. That was indicated as well. And I think it'll be during the day where it's nice and light. And I think this will be a great opportunity for spring students to serve the community. And the Litter Action Committee is working with them on that. They're working on their 2024 outreach and cleanup schedule. Last year, they had the very successful outreach and cleanup titled No Fling Spring, and then continued along the way. They have their temporary signs up, don't trash East Hampton, and please secure your load, as they continue to message out to the community those very important messages to prevent litter. And I do think they've had impact. I see improvements. So to the community, I say, please keep going. I think we all are making a difference. I had a really informative meeting yesterday with Deputy Supervisor of Southampton, Frank Zappone, and Lynn Arthur of their Energy and Sustainability Committee on community choice aggregation. Southampton has, we have the enabling legislation. Southampton has taken some steps forward to actually create the program. I think waiting will be very beneficial to us. Because a lot of the rules have changed and you're not so locked in. There's much more flexibility on the community. So therefore, I'll recommend for next year, the beginning of next year, the actual formation by resolution of the Community Choice Aggregation Committee. And Southampton is more than willing to partner with us and work along with us. And they certainly have blazed a very promising trail. And have a full outreach component already developed. On the Zoning Code Amendments Committee, we have narrowed down issues. We're done collecting data. We've narrowed down issues with the current code on how the current dimensional table is impacted by definitions such as gross floor area. Specifically now, what's in the current code, what is included in gross floor area and what is excluded. For example, how can we and the regulatory boards reconcile that on a 0.44 of an acre size lot, the current dimensional table says that the maximum house size is 3,500 square feet, yet over 10,500 square foot can be legally built as a right. So there is conflict there with our comprehensive plan. What is existing house limits according to the dimensional table that exists, and the definitions that would allow something that should be 3,500 to turn into 10,500 square foot. So we're working on that. We're taking a look at some small changes to front yard setbacks and some changes to the natural resources special permit, which has been a bane of board members, both on the zoning board and I believe the planning board for many years. It's a very important special permit, yet it has very broad language. I'd like to also reach out to the community this way, and also we'll be doing it via email and notice on our town website that a reminder that the change in certificate of occupancy legislation takes place on January 1st. There are a number of changes apparently happening with the real estate industry, disclosure, and I want to be clear that anyone practicing in the town or working in real estate is clear that the regulation states that you must have an updated C of O at closing as of January 1st, not in contract. So in order to clarify that, we'll have a memo, Rob, from the town attorney's office going out to lawyers that practice in the town of East Hampton, Southampton. I've spoken to a number of our land use lawyers. There are industry publications and title companies also send out these notices, but I just want to do an outreach. as much as I can to have clarity on that issue, since some of the other changes that will be coming to closings and transfers of property have different templates.
I could just restate that again and emphasize it. This is for properties which will change hands in the new year.
Yes, at closing, a transfer of property.
Require an updated CFO at that time.
Yes, at closing, starting January
And
1st.
everybody in town just suddenly get excited that I have to have my CO updated by.
No, only if
January.
you're,
If you're in
transferring.
process of transferring that property to someone else.
Yes, but not for state purposes.
Correct, not for state purposes. So we'll be posting a memo on the town website and also sending out an email outreach to attorneys. And also the Real Estate Industry Association that works out here. So people have full knowledge of that. The purposes of zoning that we had a public hearing on has gone to the Suffolk County Planning Commission for review. And I believe, Rob, after that, we would bring that back to a public hearing?
You adopt it.
We would adopt it, okay. And also, I know we announced last week, very exciting news about the $600,000 grant that we secured. And I just want to properly thank many of the organizations that were involved and sent in letters of support enabling the town to secure that grant. It was a very long list, so I don't think it was not included in the press release. So I'd like to thank the Nature Conservancy, the Montauk Chamber of Commerce, New York State Assemblyman Fred Thiel, Suffolk County Legislator Bridget Fleming, the Georgetown Climate Center, the Concerned Citizens of Montauk, Montauk Playhouse Community Center Foundation, the Town of East Hampton Waterfront Advisory Committee, the Rockefeller Brothers Fund, Gurneys of Montauk, and Renewable Energy of Long Island for sending in letters of support to enabling us to obtain this grant. I also want to just shout out that the Concerned Citizens of Montauk, we have members on the Coastal Assessment Resiliency Committee and the Waterfront Advisory Committee. One of those members was Laura Tuman, who has since moved on from CCOM. So we'll be appointing another member to represent them on the committee for CARP. And I just want to thank them for all the critical work that they've done on both committees and in helping secure this grant. We've already spoken about the roadmap and the need to adopt that into a comprehensive plan after a public hearing. And I just want to also give an update on South Fork Wind. Of course, we're very excited about the transmission of electrons into our grid from the wind farm beginning, but also I want to follow up with some settling paving that has occurred on town roads in Wainscott. One is a bit of settling on Beach Lane, and another area has been identified near Manhole 3, which is south of the highway on Wainscott Stone Road. Both of those areas are getting new pavement from South Fork Wind and coordinating with Kevin Cobb and the Highway Department on the right temperature, the procedure, and then Kevin will be signing off that this work was completed. And that's what I have.
Great, thank you, Kate. Well, we've rescheduled the Boys and Girls Harbor Accessibility Rec Path ribbon cutting for December 18th at 11 a.m. I'm disappointed to find out, though, that that's a conflict with the Senior Center presentation of two of our local musical divas. So you may consider moving that again, but I think that that'll be a great event, both at the Senior Center, and I'm really looking forward to people being able to use that accessible path at Boys and Girls Harbor. As Kate mentioned, South Fork Wind Farm First Power was celebrated here at Town Hall on Wednesday with a number of dignitaries marking the occasion, the nation's first wind farm in federal waters. That was followed by a boat ride on Thursday, which unfortunately conflicted with our town board meeting. I so badly wanted to go on that. And the opportunity to go on a boat ride and then to see those rather impressive wind turbines in action. So Wednesday night into the early hours of Thursday morning is the Geminid meteor shower. And I wanted to let folks know that that's one of the best meteor shower displays that we have every year. The Perseids is another one, but that will be Wednesday night. It looks like we're going to have clear weather for that. This is one of the reasons that we work so hard for dark skies, is to be able to see these kind of events. It's pretty spectacular. Meteors blazing across the sky, again, at a rate of up to 100 an hour. So find a spot away from the lights, get out your lawn chair and gaze skyward. There's an upcoming two forums sponsored by Assemblyman Fred Thiel for elected officials and newly elected officials regarding a discussion of CPF and possible adjustments to the Community Preservation Fund allocation of funds as we have a smaller inventory of open space in which to preserve. There may be some interest in diverting some greater percentage of that fund towards water quality, which will be an ongoing issue for us here and elsewhere within the 5 Peconic region towns. Additionally, I know there's been some discussion by myself and some others about being able to use CPF funds not only to purchase historic properties, but also to have some contribution of funds towards the operation and maintenance of those structures. Not having a funding source dedicated to the ongoing preservation of the structure once it's acquired is a negative on the town spreadsheet, and would have to come out of general funds currently. That is why to date we've tried to partner with private institutions and organizations to help share the cost of operating and maintaining those going forward. But those are some of the topics that would be discussed, again, both with current electeds and in January, newly electeds. And that has been such a remarkable fund and source of money for the acquisition of properties over these many years. And you can see what wonderful impact it's had on our community in terms of preserving the character of the place, open space, and the environment. And that's all I have. We do have a few resolutions today to approve. Kathy, I believe you have the first.
Yes, certainly. It's Resolution 2023-1560. It's an authorized payment for past due invoices to Proprio for 2022, and the financial impact is $75.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
Resolution 2023-1561 is to retain Gary Benz LS for 395 Panago Road, East Hampton. Just to remind people, that's our affordable single-family housing project. Gary Benz LS has performed staking work on the subject property for the purposes of delineating the boundaries of lots for the preparation of the subdivision map, and has continued to do survey work for the town in conjunction with the development of this property. The town requires further surveying services for the purpose of staking out the field boundaries for the installation of road improvements for the premises at 395 Panago. And the road location on the site is to show where the staking is at the edge of the pavement, and it's not to exceed $2,550 for the installation, or 34 stakes at $75 a piece.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Resolution 1562 is, hold on, approval for a reimbursement to the supervisor Van Scoyac for EESMA. This is the East End Supervisors and Mayors Association, and this was held at Shelter Island, and it was to authorize the reimbursement of $20 to Supervisor Peter Van Scoyac for the cost of the round trip ticket on the South Ferry to Shelter Island.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
And regarding Resolution 2023-1563, it appears that there was some printing errors with this resolution. It's very confusing to read. It's been printed twice. And I would like to withdraw this resolution and then have a corrected copy on for our next work session, so it's clear what we're doing here. It repeats itself a number of times and it's a little bit out of order.
Okay, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's carried.
I also have, I'm just making a note. I also have Resolution 2023-1564, which is to approve expenditures for 2023 to the Litter Action Committee. Whereas the town board approves, whereas Litter Action Committee has requested a portion of their budget to be used towards expenses for posters, materials, and outdoor banners to raise awareness of the impacts of littering on the town. Whereas the town board approves the expenses totaling $651.10 from the Litter Action Committee's budget for those materials, and for reimbursement to Barbara Di for the outdoor banners, and for reimbursement to Christine Gansich. Therefore be it resolved that Barbara Di will be reimbursed in the amount of $515.10 upon proper submission of vouchers, and Christine Gansich will be reimbursed in the amount of $136 upon proper submission of vouchers.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed, carried. 1565 is budget modification. Supervisor's office, and it's moving $117.11 from the telephone and $150 in conferences and dues to $267.11 to lease of equipment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed, carried. 1556 is to adopt the benefits policy for department heads and appointed employees, and this would be effective January 1st, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 1567 is to end the probationary period for John Alira. And whereas John was appointed principal account clerk, that period ended on December 11th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried. Any additional resolutions to offer? No.
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss CPF litigation, leases, and advice of counsel on the airport.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Shall we reconvene at 1:15? Very good. Stay safe and be well, everyone. Thank you, LTV.
Okay.